And we're live! Hello, everyone. Persephone Crestman's here, and welcome back to the Storyteller's Corner, episode 32. It's wonderful to see you guys here. I know it's been a while since I've done one of these episodes. I have just been really busy. Life has been, like, throwing me one cluster cuss after another, but things are certainly happening in my life. Some of them good, some of them not so good. I have a Patreon now, so for those who enjoy my work and want to like toss a coin my way, that now you have the ability to do so. It is not that required for you to donate to make requests. Yes, and in the middle of the live stream, I just started. Anywho, but yeah, so you don't have to feel like you're obligated to donate, but like if you just decide to throw. Why? Why did you pick it up with all the dogs? Why? That was a personal patron. Yes, that was my dad. That was one of the things that happened. My dad went rock fishing and he took a spill off the rocks, busted his ribs, scuffed up his elbow, and he tore ligaments in his shoulder. So that was one of the things that happened to me. My dad survived, obviously, but yeah, I came home from work and I told him it's like what the. But yeah, I have a Patreon now, so if you want to send like a little money my way as a way of saying thank you, I appreciate what you do, then you have the means to do so. The link for it is in the description of my channel down below. So if you want to donate, you have the means to do so. And as Matt is saying, yes, there are perks to being a patron. And there go my speakers because my speakers are evil. But yes, for my Patreon, there are 4 tiers. There's the Goblin tier, the Apprentice tier, the Scribe tier, and the Librarian tier for my Patreon. The Goblin tier is $5 a month, and if you donate to the Goblin tier, you get access to my Discord server where you can, connect with other fans. Look at that sparkle dragon. Hush. Not cute. I just put on a little makeup because it's fitting because mermaids are naturally vain. So, hush. Anyway, but yeah, and if you donate to the apprentice tier, you get recognition as a patron, and then you get behind the scenes posts, so bloopers, videos, and pictures of the progress of my ASMR videos. If you donate to the scribe tier, you get recognition as a Patreon, and then you also get pictures of different monster girls and monster characters that I've drawn, so you get a peek into my gallery, as it were. And then finally, if you donate to the librarian, which I forgot to mention, the Goblin tier is $5, the Apprentice tier is $10, and a crisp high five in spirit at least. Yes. Anyway. But yes, the Apprentice tier is $10, the Scribe tier is $15, and then if you donate to the Librarian tier, which is $20 a month, then you get recognition as a patron, plus you get commissions. You can request that I draw commissions for you. Now they are digital in delivery, since I cannot draw digitally to save my life, but I can draw by hand very well to an extent. So you donate to the librarian tier, and then you give me a request. I will draw it to you, and then I will send a picture of it to you in the Patreon, and I'll also send a digital picture to you via email. So yeah, those are. And if you request that I draw a certain monster girl, then she might end up starring in her own ASMR video. It just depends. But yeah, those are the tiers of the Patreon. Those are what I'm offering. Again, you don't have to donate if you are unable to or if you don't want to. I get that, but if you feel like throwing a little coin my way, I would appreciate it. But yeah, so those are the news. Anyway, now I prolonged this long enough. Back to the topic at hand. So episode 32, Storyteller's Corner. Now, here's the thing about stories, and I don't know if I've said it before, but I'm pretty sure I have, is that stories are versatile. I don't donate some if I wasn't so broke. It's okay. I get it. Even and again, but the just the emotional support, your guys' likes, your comments mean the world to me. But yeah, I've started a Patreon to try and make a little extra money on the side. So yeah. Anyway, but back to the the commentary before the story. But here's the thing: stories are versatile. So lost, whether you are lost in the savannas or you are wandering the mountains of Fujimoto, or you are even exploring the Emerald Isles, stories are a part of every culture in one way or another. And when it comes to this vast array of magicians, talking animals, wicked stepmothers, beautiful princesses, knights in shining armor, and fearsome creatures, there are there are a handful of creatures that are staples to these stories. I am, of course, referring to the I need to remember really quick. I'm sorry. I had it memorized before my stream. So yeah, I'm pretty with and without makeup. Oh my gosh, I'm just wearing a little bit of mascara, eyeliner, and some tinted lip balm. So stop, stop. Anyway, but in this vast menagerie of fantastical characters, witches, wizards, magicians, talking animals, princesses, knights and shining armor, and stepmothers and stepfathers, there are um, key characters in these stories. I'm referring to the five core monsters, which are dragons, mermaids, fairies, giants, and unicorns. Wherever you go in the world, weird dolphins! Oh, that weird dolphins. Why oh my gosh, weird dolphins. Sounds like something Dionysus cooked up, like while he was snuggling to one of his leopards. Wait, I'm mistaken! Gotta love them dragons, yeah. They are from the core five. Yeah, the core five, as I mentioned before, are dragons, mermaids, fairies, giants, and unicorns. Regardless of where you go in the world, every country, every variety of every country has their own take on these big five monsters. Like for example, um, giants. We have cyclopses from Greek mythology who are a type of giant. Dragons are everywhere. Western mythology, dragons of Western mythology are usually portrayed as often wicked, greedy, insatiable beasts, whereas in the places like China and Japan, dragons are benevolent. They're associated with wealth, wisdom, and good luck, kind of like. And then merfolk are also in a variety of their own. You have some merfolk who are sweet and pleasant, and then other merfolk who are, well, they prefer to drown humans for fun. And this isn't just, and I know excuse me, I know Denmark is famous for mermaids, considering that Hans Christian Andersen in Griffins as well, uh, them too, the big six. Anyway, but as I was saying, Denmark is famous for merfolk, given that Hans Christian Andersen a Danish author, wrote us The Little Mermaid. But mermaids are not just associated with the European mythos. In fact, the Caribbeans and the Africans also have their fair share of mer- merfolk and lovely mermaids. Let me see if I can note that there. Okay. But one example of this is Mami Wata, a water goddess who is very protective of the ocean, and she doesn't take kindly to those who encroach on the waters that she protects, and she will get her revenge on people. She's very powerful, very beautiful, and that is but one example of Merfolk. But there is another that we're going to be focusing on today, which Hans Christian is the man who died as a result of falling out of bed. I love him. Okay, so hopefully you guys can hear me. I've been talking nonstop, and I wasn't. I'm not sure if you guys can hear me. I put on microphone array, so you guys should be able to hear me hopefully. But yeah, sorry about the voice, man. I have to use a silly voice for the comment for your comments on Facebook. I'm sorry. Hans Christian Andersen, the man who died as a result of falling out of bed. Anyway, but yes, there's more than one variety of merfolk. Where some people believe that mermaids are seductive temptresses. Others believe merfolk are benevolent sea spirits. And that's one of the things I love about these stories is that there's a lot of variety. But the type of merfolk I'm going to be discussing about comes to us from Ireland and Celtic mythology. I'm of course referring to Merrows. Now Merrows are a very interesting type of merfolk as they are a species of merfolk that displays a case of sexual dimorphism. For those of you who don't know, the word sexual dimorphism means there is a difference in the sexes of a species. For example, a real life example would be birds of paradise, whereas the females are usually more softer and more muted in their palettes, being very creamy beiges and browns and as the like. The males, on the other hand, are bright and colorful, colorful, and perform various mating dances, and they're just extremely colorful and very creative in their courtship. That's a real life example of sexual dimorphism. Um, but in the case of the Marrows having their sexual dimorphism, it is the female Marrows who appear very beautiful and lovely, like a young woman of marriage marrying age. I'm sorry. Anyway, but yes, while the females look beautiful and youthful and very attractive to the human eye, it is the male Marrows who are not as easy on the eyes. And they've been described as, and I quote, having green, scaly skin, long, stringy hair, mouthful of sharp teeth, and pig-like snouts and beady black eyes. And according to mythology, it is that because of that, it is one of the reasons why the female Marrows will go hunting after male, uh, going to hunting for human men because I guess they just are a fan of male Marrows. I mean, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and honestly, I kind of judge for the inside. I judge the insides. So if you look good, though, that's icing on the cake. But yes, now I mentioned before that some merfolk are evil in that they like to drown humans for fun. But then I also mentioned that some are benevolent. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. With marrows, they are often portrayed as having a red cap. And and here's the thing. This red cap is magic in origin because red is a color associated heavily with magic in Ireland. And whoever wears one of these red caps that belongs to a marrow, this cap, when donned on by a human, will allow them to breathe underwater. So it is one way to make relationships a bit easier. Because merfolk usually they see a human they fancy and they end up taking them down underwater, forgetting that humans can't breathe underwater. So personally, I find that rather clever that that female marrows have these hats that they can give to their spouses, so that way their spouses can live with them underwater while still breathing underwater. And I now the starting point. Now, one of the reasons why I chose this story in particular. My boss came with coffee! Yay, coffee! I don't like coffee, but more power to you. I have cold peppermint tea in my cup. And then I have some Red Bulls in the fridge for an art project. So, yeah. So, after this song, I will read the story. I promise. But yeah, one of the reasons why I chose this story in particular was because I haven't really dabbled in Celtic folklore since I started the show. At least I'm not sure. That, and also because, it is May, which is the time of Mermay, if you're an artist like me, and so it makes sense to talk about mermaids. I'm working on Mermay 2023, and I will see if I can get at least one or two mermaid videos, like mermaid ASMR videos on this channel. I will see what I can do about that. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I felt like reading this specific tale. I can't speak English, I promise. This specific tale, which comes to us from Ireland. It is called The Soul Cages. Now, this book, this book, I this book I got when I was up in Florence last year with my family. We were on a big vacation as a family. We explored one of the shops and I found this book. And because I am a book dragon and I am trying to collect as many fairy tales as I can get my hands on, I had to get it. So this book only has one illustration, and that's like the cover art before you read the story. It's done in a silhouette style and it is very beautiful. I love it to pieces. And remember how I told you that male marrows? It's a special gem in your hoard. Oh, I have lots of special gems in my hoard. I have lots, like, you can see my collection. It's gotten bigger. I think it has. I don't know. I haven't been able to order as many new books as of late, but I've been trying to see what new movie. Now, anyway, so I remember before that I mentioned that male marrows are often described as being very ugly in appearance. Artistic interpretation because, as I mentioned before, there's artwork on here, and this is a male marrow. That doesn't look half bad. I mean, I I I, I wouldn't mind having a drink with a male marrow like that. And this is coming from someone who likes all sorts of monsters. Like because I mean there are some monsters that I wouldn't mind trying. You know. Mm. That's the end of the song. But yeah, so I love the artwork and a pretty kissable face, in my opinion. Yes, Matt. Yes. Head pat, scritchy, scritchy, scritchies. Scritch, scritch, scritch. Okay. Anyway, so now it is time for the story. And again, this comes from Ireland. I will try and do a good Irish accent for the voices. Hopefully, I can do so. So, the soul cages. And as I mentioned before, here's the artwork. I think you should save the head pats for him. Both you and you should get head pats. Case closed. Don't argue with the DM. So, the soul cages. Jack Dougherty lived in a remote little cottage by Dunbeg Bay, on the coast of County Clare. Jack was a fisherman, as his father and grandfather before him had been. He lived in just the same spot as them, and, like them, lived alone except for his wife. People used to wonder why the Dogherty family was so fond of that wild sight, so far away from all humankind, and in the midst of huge, shattered rocks, with nothing but the wide ocean to look upon. But they had their own good reasons for it. The place was just about the only spot on the part of the coast where anybody could well live. There was a neat little creek where a boat might lie as snug as a puffin in her nest, and out from this creek a ledge of sunken rocks ran into the sea. Now when the Atlantic was raging with a storm, and a good westerly wind was blowing strong on the coast, many a rich-laden ship went to pieces on these rocks, and then the fine bales of cotton, tobacco, and such-like things, and the pipes of wine, and the puncheons of rum, the casks of brandy, and the kegs of Hollands, were swept neatly ashore. So Dunbeg Bay was just like a little estate, to the Doghertys. Not that they weren't kind and humane to a distressed sailor, if ever one had the good luck to get to land. Many a time indeed Jack put out in his little boat and lent a hand towards bringing the crew from the wreck. But when the ship had gone to pieces and the crew were lost, who would blame Jack for picking up all he could find? So essentially a case of finders keepers, but all that alcohol. To quote a Jacksepticeye video, "Hey, I'm Irish. There's always going to be a slight trace of alcohol in my blood system." Anyway, I digress. And you, Irish. "And here is the worst for it," said he. "For as to the king, God bless him, everybody knows he's rich enough already without getting what's floating in the sea." Jack, though such a hermit, was a good-natured, jolly fellow. No other, sure, could ever have coaxed Biddy Mahoney to quit her father's snug and warm house in the middle of the town of Ennis, to go so many miles to live among the rocks with the seals and seagulls for next-door neighbors. But Biddy knew that Jack was the man for a woman who wished to be comfortable and happy, for, to say nothing of the fish, Jack had the supplying of half the gentlemen's houses in the country with the wrecks that came in the bay. And she was right in her choice, for no woman ate, drank, or slept better, or made a prouder appearance at chapel on Sundays than Miss Dogherty. Many a strange sight did Jack see on that lonely bit of coast, and many a strange sound did he hear, but nothing daunted him. So far was he from being afraid of Meros, or other such magical beings that dwelled in the sea, that the very first wish of his heart was to meet one of them. Jack had heard that luck had always come out of an acquaintance of the Meros. Therefore, whenever he excuse me again, sorry. Therefore, whenever he dimly discerned them moving along the surface of the water in their robes of mist, he made directly towards them. But he never could catch up, and many a scolding did Biddy bestow upon Jack for spending his whole day out at sea and bringing home no fish. Little did poor Biddy know the fish Jack was after. It was rather annoying to Jack that, though living in a place where the Meros were as plenty as lobsters, he could never get a right view of one. What vexed him more was that both his father and his grandfather had often seen them. He even remembered hearing when he was a child how his grandfather, who was the first of the family that had settled down at the creek, had been good friends with a Mero. This, however, Jack did not well know how to believe. Fortune at length began to think it only right that Jack should know as much as his father and grandfather did. Accordingly, one day, when he had strolled a little farther than usual along the coast and was just coming around a point of rock, he saw something like to nothing he had ever seen before. It was perched upon a rock at a little distance out to sea, but as well as he could discern at the distance, it looked green in the body, and held, he could have sworn, a cocked hat in its hand. Jack stood for a good half-hour straining his eyes and wondering at it, and all the time the thing did not stir hand or foot. At last Jack's patience was quite worn out, and he gave a loud whistle and a hail, but the Mero, for that is what it was started up, put the cocked hat on its head, and dived down head-first from the rock. After that day, Jack's curiosity excited, and he constantly directed his steps towards the point, but he could never get a glimpse of the sea gentleman with the cocked hat.
And with thinking and thinking about the matter, he began at last to fancy he had only been dreaming. One very rough day, however, when the sea was running mountains high, Jack determined to give a look at the Narrows Rock, for he had always chosen a fine day before. And then he saw the strange thing cutting capers upon the top of the rock, then diving down, then coming up and diving down again. Jack had now only to choose a good blowing day, and he could see the man of the sea as often as he pleased. All this, however, did not satisfy him. He wished now to get acquainted with the Merrow. Then one tremendous blustering day, before he got to the point whence he had a view of the Merrow's rock, the storm came on so furiously that Jack was obliged to take shelter in one of the caves which were so numerous along the coast. And there, to his astonishment, he was sitting for him a thing with green hair, long green teeth, a red nose, and pig's eyes. It had a fish's tail, legs with scales on them, and short arms like fins. It wore no clothes, but had the hat cocked under its arm, and seemed to be thinking very seriously about something. Jack, with all his courage, was a little daunted, but now or never he thought up. But now or never he thought. So up he went boldly to the cogitating fishman, took off his hat, and made his best bow. "Your servant, sir," said Jack. "Your servant kindly, Jack Dogherty," said the Merrow. "To be sure, then. How well your honour knows my name," said Jack. "It is I not know your name." "Oh, is it I not know your name, Jack Dogherty? Why, man, I knew your grandfather long before he was married to Judy Regan, your grandmother." "Ah, Jack, I was fond of that grandfather of yours. He was a mighty worthy man. I never met his match above or below, before or since, for sucking in a shellful of brandy. I hope, my boy," said the old fellow with a merry twinkle in his eyes, "I hope that you're his own grandson." "Never fear me for that," said Jack. "If my mother had only reared me on brandy, 'tis me self that would be a sucking infant to this hour." "Well, I like to hear you talk so manly. You and I must be better acquainted, if only for your grandfather's sake." "I'm sure," said Jack, "since your honour lives down under the water, you must be obliged to drink a power to keep any heat in you in such a cruel, damp, cold place. Well, I've often heard of men drinking like fishes, and might I be so bold as to ask where you get the spirits?" "Where do you get them for yourself, Jack?" said the Merrow, twitching his red nose between his forefingers and thumb. "Aha, now, I see how it is," said Jack. "But I suppose, sir, your honour has got a fine dry cellar below to keep them in." "Let me alone for the cellar," said the Merrow with a knowing wink. "Okay. Well, I'm sure," continued Jack, "it must be mighty well worth the looking at." "You may say that, Jack," said the Merrow, "and if you meet me here next Monday, just at this time of day, we'll have a little more talk with one another about the matter." Jack and the Merrow parted as best friends in the world. On Monday they met, and Jack was not a little surprised to see that the Merrow had two cocked hats with him, one under each arm. "Might I take the liberty to ask, sir," said Jack, "why your honour has brought the two hats with you today? You would not sure be going to give me one of them to keep for the curiosity of the thing?" "No, no, Jack," said the Merrow. "I don't get my hats so easily, to part with them that way. But I want you to come down and dine with me, and I brought you the hat to dine with." "Lord bless and preserve us!" cried Jack in amazement. "Would you want me to go down to the bottom of the salt sea ocean? Sure, I'd be smothered and choked up with the water, to say nothing of being drowned. And what would poor Biddy do for me? And what would she say?" "And what's the matter what she says, you pinkeen? Who cares for Biddy's squalling? It's long before your grandfather would have talked in that way. Many's the time he stuck that same hat on his head and dived down boldly after me, and many the snug bit of dinner and good shellful of brandy he and I have had together under the water." "Is that true, sir?" cried Jack. "Why then, here's neck or nothing." "That's your grandfather all over," said the old fellow. "So come along and do as I do." They both left the cave, walked into the sea, and swam a piece until they got to the rock. The Merrow climbed to the top of it, and Jack followed him. On the far side it was as straight as the wall of a house, and the sea beneath them looked so deep that Jack almost cowed. "Now, Jack," said the Merrow, "just put this hat on your head and mind to keep your eyes wide open. Take hold of my tail and follow after me, and you'll see what you'll see." Excuse me. I could just get the pages. There we go. Anyway. In he dashed, and in dashed Jack boldly after him. Though the water they went, and Jack thought he'd never stop going. Many a time did he wish himself sitting at home by the fireside with Biddy. Yet where was the use of wishing now, when he was so many miles below the waves of the Atlantic? Keep your eyes open! Feel the sting of the salt water! Yushin would probably do that, Matt. Not gonna lie. Yushin seems like the type open his eyes in open seawater. Yushin pulls out his head. Ah! It burns! It stings! Anyway, sorry. Let's see. Atlantic. So he held hard to the Merrow's tail, slippery as it was, and at last, to Jack's great surprise, they got out of the water, and he actually found himself on dry land at the bottom of the sea. They landed just in front of a nice house that was slated very neatly with oyster shells. Jack could hardly speak, what with wonder, and what with being out of breath after traveling so fast through the water. He looked about him and could see no living things except crabs and lobsters, of which there were plenty walking leisurely about on the sand. Overhead the sea was like a sky, and the fishes like birds swimming about in it. "Why don't you speak, man?" said the Merrow. "I dare say you had no notion that I had such a snug little concern here as this. Are you smothered or choked or drowned, or are you fretting after Biddy, eh? Well, come along and let's see what they've got for us to eat." Jack was really hungry, and it gave him no small pleasure to perceive a fine column of smoke rising from the chimney, announcing what was going on within. In the house he followed the Merrow, and there he saw a good kitchen, right well provided in everything. There was a noble dresser, with plenty of pots and pans, and 2 young Merrows cooking. His host then led him into the dining room, which was furnished shabbily enough. There was not a table or chair in it, but only planks and logs of wood to sit on and eat off. However, there was a good fire blazing upon the hearth, and a comfortable sign to Jack. "Come now, and I'll show you where I keep the you-know-what," said the Merrow with a sly look. Opening a little door, he led Jack into a fine cellar, well filled with pipes, kegs, hogsheads, and barrels. So the Merrow's got a massive stash of alcohol. I mean, kind of relatable. "What do you say to that, Jack Dogherty? Maybe a body can live snug under the water." "Never the doubt of that," said Jack with a smack of his lips. This is This is pre-drowning hallucinations. No, this is happening to Jack. He's just running out of air. One of these days, my stupid self will remember you're in a different time zone. Yeah, I'm in Pacific Daylight Time. Such as it is. I wonder if that would still... Actually, it might probably be the same even if I was living on the coast. Because that's where I want to live. I want to live near the ocean water. Anyway. This is pre-drowning hallucinations. None of this is happening to Jack. He's just running out of air. No, he's not drowning, Matt. He's not drowning. He's fine. They went back to the dining room and found dinner laid. There was no tablecloth, to be sure, but what matter? Jack and Biddy did not always have one at home either. The dinner itself would have been no discredit to the finest house in the country. The choicest of fish, no wonder, was there. Turbots, sturgeons, soles, lobsters, oysters, and 20 other kinds were on the planks at once, along with plenty of the best foreign spirits. Wine, the old fellow said, was too cold for his stomach. So it's plenty of seafood and then all the wine, all the alcohol you can drink. I mean, delightable. I do love a good thing of beer with a nice fish taco, so I can kind of relate. Anywho, diddly-diddly-diddly-doo. Jack ate and drank until he could eat no more. Then, taking up a shell of brandy, he said, "Here's to your honour's good health, sir. Though begging your pardon, it's mighty odd that as long as we've been acquainted, I don't know your name yet." I almost always check your streams at the wrong time because I forgot about the time difference. I've even missed a few because of it. It's okay, crazy anime gamer. I get it. Stuff happens, and not everyone's in the same time zone. I get it. I have arisen. Hi, Ghost God. Welcome. I'm reading The Soul Cages. Who has summoned me? I have, with my story from Celtic mythology, specifically Ireland. Ireland. We're reading about marrows, which are a type of merfolk. So yes, Jack, our main character, has just gone down to the beautiful briny with a marrow who he's become friends with. So yes, and he's just asking. It's like, I don't know your name yet. All right, I'm getting to it. I need tea for my throat. Alrighty. "That's true, Jack," replied the marrow. "I never thought of it before, but better late than never. My name is Kumara." "An almighty decent name it is," cried Jack, taking another shellful. "Here's to your good health, Kumara, and may you live these 50 years to come." 50 years, repeated Kumara. "I'm obliged to you indeed. If you had said 500, it would have been something worth the wishing." "Well, sir," said Jack, "I suppose you live to a powerful age here under the water. You knew my grandfather, and he's dead and gone better than these 60 years. I'm sure it must be a healthy place to live in." "No doubt of it. But come, Jack, keep the liquor stirring." The ghost is back? Joke. Well, I should look around for under the sea feast with merfolk. I live on Cape after all. It shouldn't be hard. Hey, maybe you might find a marrow and you could be best friends with them. But I love how the name is spelled, and I don't. So that is how it is spelled in the book. I don't know. I think that would be a very good name for lots of characters. So anyway, keep the liquor stirring. Shell after shell did they empty, and to Jack's exceeding surprise, he found the drink never got into his head, owing, he supposed, to the sea being over them, which kept their noodles cool. Noodles, referring to the brain. The brain. My pearls. The pearls. Oops. Sorry. There we go. That's better. Anyway. Just kept their noodles cool. So, yeah, they're drinking a copious amount, and Jack's surprised that he's not getting drunk, because the drinks never got into his head, knowing he supposed to the sea being over them, which kept their noodles cool. Their noodles. It's silly, I know. Old Kumara got exceedingly comfortable and sung several songs, but Jack, if his life depended on it, never could remember more than this. Hey, hi, Yuri Martinez. Welcome. I'm reading a story from Irish mythology about marrows, which are Irish merfolk. The song. Cool Noodle sounds like a band name. I mean, maybe Dungeons and Dragons band name. If I remember correctly, one of the ways a certain type of merfolk to get legs was to eat the legs of a human. I could be remembering wrong, though. I don't know. That might be it. I don't know. Yeah, a 60s band name. A D&D in the 60s, one of the band name Cool Noodles. It's sung by these little goblins. Goblins, kobolds, or something. I don't know. Anyway, so Kumara been singing Rum fum boodle boo, ripple dipple nitty dob, dum doo doodle coo, raffle taffle chitty boo. At length Kumara said to Jack, "Now, my dear boy, if you'll follow me, I'll show you my curiosities." He opened a little door and led the way into a large room, where Jack saw a great many odds and ends that Kumara had picked up at one time or another. What chiefly took his attention, however, were a great many things like lobster pots ranged on the ground along the walls. "Well, Jack, how do you like my curiosities?" said old Coo. "Upon my soul, sir," said Jack, they're mighty well worth the looking at. Oh, might I make so bold as to ask what these things like lobster pots are? What the heck kind of rhyme was that? I don't know. They were drinking lots. I don't know. I'm just reading the book as it is, Matt. Calm down. So yeah, Jack wondering what these things like lobster pots are. Lobster pots being a type of cage you use to catch lobsters. It's been a while since I've had lobster. Anywho. Oh, the soul cages, is it? The what, sir? These things here that I keep the souls in. Hurrah! What souls, sir? Said Jack in amazement. Sure the fish have no souls in them. Oh no, replied Coo quite coolly. They have not. These are the souls of drowned sailors. The Lord preserve us from all harm, muttered Jack. How in the world did you get them? Easily enough. I've only, when I see a good storm coming on, to set a couple of dozen of these, and then when the sailors are drowned and the souls get out of them under the water, the poor things are almost perished to death, not being used to the cold. So they make it to my pots for shelter, and then I have them snug and fetch them home and keep them here dry and warm. And is it not well for them, poor souls, to get into such good quarters? Jack was so thunderstruck that he did not know what to say, so he said nothing. If you can rhyme while you're drinking, you're pretty talented. I mean, fair enough, but keep in mind, they were drinking so much, but it wasn't getting to their heads. And that's because the cold of the ocean was over them, and it kept their noodles cool. So, lobsters kind of scare me. Big underwater bugs, in my opinion. They may look like big underwater bugs, but they are tasty. And it's been a long time since I've had some lobster. Wish I had some lobster right now. I wish I had seafood right now. Anyway. Alrighty. They went back into the dining room and had a little more brandy, which was excellent. And then, as Jack knew that it must be getting late, and as Biddy might be uneasy, he stood up and said he thought it was time for him to be on the road. Just as you like, Jack, said Coo. But take another drink before you go. You've a cold journey before you. Jack knew better manners than to refuse the parting glass. I wonder, he said, will I be able to make out my way home? What should ail you, said Coo, when I'll show you the way. One of the tastiest bugs I've ever had. Lucky ghost. It's been a long time since I've had lobster. I've had crab before, but I want lobster. Now I want sushi. I'm craving fish now. Jeez. Or smoked oysters. Anyway, getting distracted. So, dying at sea is sometimes referred to as going to Davy Jones's locker, but there's no actual historical evidence of a famous pirate named Davy Jones. Strange, right? It is strange, but then again, it's not entirely strange when you think about it, because we as humans, we tell stories. It's deeply ingrained into us in more ways than one. Yay, sushi! Anyway, so yeah, Kumara seems very nice, pleasant, and then he casually shows Jack his collection of soul cages full of souls of drowned sailors. I don't know. I mean, in comparison to the blood room from the Fitcher's Bird, it's a little more on the tame side, but still, I don't know about you guys, but seeing a soul outside of the human body, I think that would be just a tiny bit unnerving, don't you think? Anyway, so he still seems very friendly, though. Just gonna help take his new friend Jack home. Out they went before the house, and Kumara took one of the cocked hats and put it upon Jack's head the wrong way. Then he lifted him up on his shoulder, so that he might launch him up into the water. Now, he said, giving him a heave, you'll come up just in the same spot you came down in. And Jack, mind and throw me back the hat. He canted Jack off his shoulder, and he shot like a bubble through the water until he came to the very rock he had jumped off of, where he found a landing place. Then he threw the hat in the water, and it sank like a stone. Did someone say bloodroot? You heard right, Nat. Weren't the original sirens not even merfolk? They were harpy-like creatures, right? Yes and no. You're referring to sirens. Hooray! Long live the blood wizard! Not anymore, he's dead. Anyway, I was just making a comparison because Kumara has a bunch of cages filled with human souls. Which is almost on the same level as the blood room, but I mean at least it's a bit more I kind of want to say it's a bit more tame. I don't know what a soul would look like. I've seen depictions of souls, but yeah. You're kind of half right, crazy anime gamer. You're referring to sirens, because sirens in Greek mythology from the Odyssey were depicted as having the bodies of birds with the heads of beautiful women, specifically the body of a vulture. And then modern interpretation took it to mean aquatic. And I believe there are some interpretations of the siren that were more akin to the mermaid that we're like, are you sick or something, Persephone? What's up with the sniffles? Allergies and my nose is kind of stuffed up. I'm not sick or anything, it just kind of happens. Allergies and all that. Delicious human souls! Most people believe that a soul is a ball of light, either silver or blue color. Colored. I have heard that, and I've seen in some interpretations, like with the Robber Bridegroom, which I read on this series before, is the soul is a dove. Is depicted as a dove, which I kind of think is very clever. So, yeah, the souls. Though in this case with the soul cages, I imagine the souls being kind of wispy and ghosty like, but they look like the person that they came from. I think that might be interesting. And then another depiction of souls is from Finnish folklore, in which they believe when you're sleeping, your soul leaves your body as a bat, which I think is super cool because I like bats. Slaps Matt. What's wrong with you? Behave, ghost. Matt is just Matt. He is a wonderful good bun. Anyway. So, yeah. Jack ends up home. He throws the hat back and it sinks like a stone. Nice. The sun was going down in the beautiful sky of a calm summer's evening. A solitary star was dimly twinkling in the cloudless heaven, and the waves of the Atlantic flashed in a golden flood of light. So Jack, perceiving it was late, set off home, but when he got there, not a word did he say to Biddy of where he spent his day. Newcomb? Good thing I sold my soul for a donut a long time ago, so I don't have to worry about you eating my soul. Haha. Don't sell your soul. That's important. You need your soul. Everyone needs their soul. Anyway, my soul is precious and I'm not going to trade it for anything. The state of the poor souls cooped up in the lobster pots gave Jack a great deal of trouble, and determining how to release them cost him a great deal of thought. At first he had a mind to speak to the priest about the matter. But what could the priest do? And what did Ku care for the priest? Besides, Ku was a good sort of an old fellow, and did not think he was doing any harm. It might also not be much to Jack's own credit. If it were known that he used to go dine with with Marrows. On the whole, he thought his best plan would be to ask Ku to dinner and make him drunk if he was able, and then to take the hat and go down and turn up the pots, releasing the souls. First of all, however, it was necessary to get Biddy out of the way, for Jack wished to keep the thing secret from her. Accordingly, Jack grew mighty pious all of a sudden, and said to Biddy that he thought it would be good for both their souls if she was to go to visit St. John's Well. Biddy thought so too, and so she set off one fine morning at dawn, giving Jack strict charge to keep an eye on the house. As soon as she was gone, away Jack went to the coast to give the appointed signal to Kumara, which was throwing a big stone into the water. Jack threw, and up sprang Kumara. Good morning, Jack, said he. What do you want with me? Nothing at all, sir, replied Jack, except for you to come and take a bit of dinner with me, if I might make so free as to ask of you. It's quite agreeable, Jack, I assure you. What's your hour? Any time that's most convenient to you, sir. Say 1 o'clock that you may go home with the daylight. I'll be with you then, said Coo. Never fear me. Jack went home, dressed a noble fish dinner, and got out plenty of his best foreign spirits, enough, for that matter, to make 20 men drunk. I mean, as you do, you have a guest over, you break out the wine, as you do, especially when you're trying to get your best friend drunk, so you can release his collection of souls, as you do. Oh my goodness. Let's see. 20 men drunk. 20 men drunk. Just as the clock struck 1, in came Coo with his cocked hat under his arm. Dinner was ready, and they sat down and ate and drank away manfully. Jack, thinking of the poor souls below in the pots, plied old Coo well with brandy and encouraged him to sing, hoping to put him under the table. But poor Jack forgot that he had not the sea over his own head to keep cool. The brandy got into it and did his business for him, and Coo left his host as dumb as a haddock on Good Friday. Jack never woke until the next morning, and then he was in a sad way. "'Tis no use for me to try and make that old Coo drunk," said Jack. "But how in the world can I help the poor souls out of the lobster pots?" After ruminating nearly the whole day, he was struck by an idea. "I have it," he said, slapping his knee. "I'll be sworn that Coo never saw a drop of poteen, as old as he is, and that's the thing I'll settle to him. Is it not well that Biddy will not be home these 2 days yet? I can have another twist at him." Jack got sloshed. Yes, he did. Because the sea wasn't over his head to keep his noodle cool. His noodle got hot and overcooked. His noodle was cooked. Anyway. So, poteen. I don't know what poteen is. I think it is a type of alcohol, though. Like a very potent spirit. I'll have to look that up. Anyway. Oh my goodness. So Jack asked Coo again, and Coo laughed at him for having no better head, telling him he'd never live up to his grandfather. "Well, try me again," said Jack, "and I'll drink you drunk and sober and drunk again." "Anything in my power," said Coo, "to oblige you." At this dinner, Jack took care to have his own liquor well watered, and gave the strongest brandy he had to Coo. At last he said, "Pray, sir, did you ever drink any poteen?" You could say his noodle became spaghetti. Yep. That is quite the power move, though. It's like old Coo telling him he'll never live up to his grandfather. Jack? Yeah? Well, try me again. I'll drink you drunk and sober and drunk again. I suppose you could make a joke about that. You could make a joke about that. Anyway, so well, I gave this. So, pray, sir, did you ever drink any poteen? "No," said Coo. "What's that, and where does it come from?" "Oh, that's a secret," said Jack. "But it's the right stuff. Never believe me again if 'tis not 50 times as good as brandy or rum either. Biddy's brother just sent me a present of a little drop in exchange for some brandy, and as you're an old friend of the family, I kept it to treat you with." "Well, let's see what sort of thing it is," said Kumara. The poteen was the right sort. It was first rate, and had the real smack upon it. Coo was delighted. I may need to get something more to drink. So the poteen was the right sort. It was first rate and had the real smack upon it. Coo was delighted. He drank and sang rum fum boodle boo over and over again, and he laughed and danced until he fell on the floor, fast asleep. Then Jack, who had taken good care to keep himself sober, snapped up the cocked hat and ran off to the rock, leaped in, and soon arrived at Coo's house. All was as still as a churchyard at midnight. Not a Merrow, old or young, was there. So in went Jack and turned up the pots, but he saw nothing emerge from them. Only heard a sort of a little whistle or chirp as he raised each of them. At this he was surprised until he recollected what the priest had often said, that nobody living could see the soul no more than they could see the wind or the air. Having now done all he could do for the sailors' souls, he had set the pots as they were before, and sent a blessing after the poor souls to speed them on their journey wherever they were going. Has anyone ever heard of the Taily Poe story? But nope. Nope. Still though, Jack was successful this time. Round two. The winner, Jack, casually watering down his alcohol so that way he wouldn't get drunk. Still, Yen Ku drinking and singing and laughing and dancing till he falls on the floor fast asleep. That's one way to pass out after drinking a copious amount of alcohol. So let's see. Wherever they were going, Jack now began to think of returning. He put the hat on the wrong way, but when he got outside, he found the water so high over his head that he had no hope of ever getting up into it. Now that old Kumar was not there to give him a lift, he walked about looking for a ladder, but not one he could find, nor was there a rock in sight. At last, he saw a spot where the sea hung rather lower than anywhere else, so he resolved to try there. Just as he came to the spot, a big cod happened to put down his tail. Jack made a jump and caught hold of it, and the cod, all in amazement, gave a bounce and pulled Jack up. The minute the hat touched the water, Jack was whisked away and shot up like a cork, dragging the poor cod which he forgot to let go of. He got to the rock in no time, and without a moment's delay hurried home, rejoicing in the good deed he had done. 200 IQ pro gamer play. Yes. Jack successfully outdrinking the Merrow. Alrighty. But meanwhile, there was fine work at home, for Jack had hardly left the house on his soul-freeing expedition when Biddy came back from her soul-saving trip to the well. When she entered the house, she saw things lying higgledy-piggledy on the table before her. "Here's a pretty job," she said. "That blackguard husband of mine, what ill luck I had ever to marry him, has picked up some vagabond or other while I was praying for the good of his soul, and they've been drinking all the poteen that my own brother gave him, and all the spirits that he was to have sold." Then, hearing an outlandish kind of grunt, she looked down and saw Kumara lying under the table. The one and only time I got drunk, I can't remember anything past 9 p.m. that day. I woke up asleep on the floor with my shirt stuck to my fan. Lol. Truthfully, I have never, ever truly gotten drunk. I have only gotten severely buzzed once. And I learned my lesson not to do that again. Because it wasn't fun. So, yeah. Let's see. So Biddy comes back, griping about her husband, and hearing an outlandish grunt, she looked down and saw Kumara lying under the table. "The Blessed Virgin help me!" she shouted. "If he's not made a real beast of himself! Well, I've often heard of a man making a beast of himself with drink. Oh, Jack, what will I do with you? Or what will I do without you? How can any decent woman ever think of living with a beast?" With such lamentations, Biddy rushed out of the house and was going she knew not where. When she heard the well-known voice of Jack singing a merry tune, she was glad enough to find him safe and sound, and not turned into a thing that was like neither fish nor flesh. Then Jack was obliged to tell her all. And Biddy, though she had half a mind to be angry with him for not telling her before, admitted that he had done a great service to the poor souls. No, I wasn't drunk. I wasn't drunk. I just got heavily buzzed. I stopped drinking altogether 5 years ago, and a friend passed away from out. I got trashed at my sister's dead once. We still have all of mine together. Siblings are fun. Not my siblings. My siblings are chaotic. They drive me up a tree. Anyway. But yeah. At most, when I drink, if I'm not careful, I just get a case of what I like to call a fishbowl head. But now I feel bad for sharing my story. It's fine, you didn't know. But yeah, that is one of the reasons why I don't drink excessively, because, it does have consequences. In moderation, though, it's fine. But yeah, we're almost done with the story, guys, I promise. So yeah, the fuck. Though Biddy had half a mind to be angry with him before for not telling her, admitted that he had done a great service to the poor souls. I'm not going to get addicted. Ghost, no hush. Anyway. Back they both went to the house, and Jack wakened up Kumara. Perceiving the old fellow to be rather dull, he bid him not to be cast down, for 'twas many a good man's case. It all came of his not being used to the poteen. Jack recommended to him, by way of cure, to swallow a hair of the dog that bit him. Coo, however, seemed to think he had quite enough. He got up, quite out of sorts, and without having the manners to say one word in the way of civility, he sneaked off to cool himself by a jaunt through the salt water. Kumara never missed the souls. He and Jack continued to be the best of friends in the world, and no one, perhaps, ever equaled Jack for freeing souls from purgatory, for he contrived 50 excuses for getting into the house below the sea, unknown to the old fellow, and then turning up the pots and letting out the souls. It vexed him, to be sure, but he could never see them. But as he knew the thing to be impossible, he was obliged to be satisfied. Their friendship continued for several years. However, one morning when Jack threw a stone in the water as usual, he got no answer. He flung another and another, but still there was no reply. He went away and returned the following morning, but it was to no avail. As he was without the hat, he could not go down to see what had become of old Coo, but his belief was that the old man, or the old fish, or whatever he was, had either died at last, or had moved away from that part of the country. And that is the end of the story of the soul cages. And I hope you guys enjoyed that. I remember reading it, and I found it very interesting. Taken these souls ground sailors and was just casually keeping them like a collection. And he seemed, how when he spoke to Jack about it, he seemed very cold about it, and yet the story says he didn't believe he was doing any harm. And yet, despite that, Jack frees the souls, who Kamara never never discovers the missing souls, and they still end up being friends until he just disappears. I found that very intriguing. Hooray for friendship! Another fine addition to my collection. Like issues are stirring. Of course they are, because my laptop hates me. Sorry, I was charging my laptop and I didn't want it to get overheated. But you guys can still hear me, right? There we go. New one smells like he just was the soul of Koshi the Deathless. Another fool. Yeah. Funny. And that would be an interesting possibility to explain why he never died, but no. Uh, Koshi's soul was actually kept in an egg. In a chicken egg, I believe. I would have to I would have to reread the story again, but I mean, if you want to, a little gurgly, but I hear you. Okay, good. I swear my microphone is horrible sometimes. Oh, their thing is just going. Wait it's normal now. Yay! Stop doing DeBubble's voice. No. Anyway, but I found it fascinating how they portrayed Mara. He wasn't evil with capturing the souls in the cages. You should invest in a new mic if you have issues. I'm saving my money. And besides, I would need one that could fit into my laptop. Anywho. But yeah, I liked how they portrayed Kamara as a genuinely chaotic, neutral character. I mean, capturing, like, putting souls in cages seems kind of chaotic. But if you guys wanted me to read the story of Pushing the Deathless, I do have this story in my in my collection. If you guys wanted me to read you a Russian tale about someone who couldn't die. So, woo! That new film me mentions the story about a Russian guy who couldn't die. That woo! Because Matt likes stories. Because Matt is just a good person and wonderful. Matt likes his stories. But yeah, I found it very stop. But it's true though. I have to say that I have to tell the truth. I have to be like a truth pixie. Because truth pixies cannot tell lies. But yeah, thank you for coming to the live stream, and I'm glad you guys enjoyed the story of the Soul Cages. I love the character Kamara. In one of the many different versions of the story, Koshi the Death plus the soul is found and forced to return to his body so he can finally be killed. Most people haven't heard that one though. I think I have that version. I'm not sure though. I'd have to look at my library. But still. So maybe that'll be the next story I read on this show. Episode 33 will be about Koshi the Deathless. Which for those who like fairy tales and love comics, like webtoons, I highly recommend you go to webtoons and look up the comic Forever After. As they talk, as well, thank you, thank you. I do my best to give you guys good quality reads, and you guys seem to like this show, so I needed to continue it anyway. But yeah, check out Forever After. It is a very creative webtoon because it talks about this girl. She's trapped in a fantasy realm, but she's cast as the prince of all these fairy tales she's grown up with. And in order to get back, she has to solve these fairy tales and give them the happily ever after. And they actually do reference a Koshi the Deathless in the story. And I love how they depict them. The art is gorgeous. It's very wonderful. So I highly recommend it to you guys if you like it. And yeah, I mean, it's very. But yeah, so thank you for coming. I hope you enjoyed the reading. Also, I've started doing a D&D campaign in my Discord server, The Misadventures of Mithria. It's been a long time since I've done, but the campaign's been very fun. It's been little bite-sized one-shots, and plot is starting to progress. It's very fun. We have let's yeah, so we have 5 characters in this campaign. We have a bard, a rogue, a bounty hunter, a fighter, and a cleric. And the cleric is being played by me because they needed a cleric. So I heal people. It's very fun. And if you guys want to hop into my Discord server, if you guys want, like, say you enter the Discord server and you want to listen, you're more than welcome to. Like, I know it probably won't happen. I try and be a little realistic, but I I mean, if someone were to make an animatic of the misadventures of Mithria, like the adventure, I don't know, that'd be interesting. But yeah, and I kill things for cat. Cat, you're about to hunt.
is a fun chaos character. Fusion's very fun and very wholesome, and then Theatira is like the motherly figure. And then we got the bard with issues. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching. Again, I hope you enjoyed the. Sorry, I hope you guys. All right, last video. She enjoys rat stomping and eating. Yeah, but he also punted a rat. He punted a rat, and now he has a sweetheart, which is the bard's little sister. Very very sweet. I love it. Anyway. But yeah, so I have more content on the way. It's just gonna take me a while because, well, again, very busy. Life is trying to suck up punch me repetitively. So, there's that again. If you want to donate, feel free to do so. Feel cool. Oh, come on. My hair's not that bad. It's in a braid. It's in a milkmaid braid. Anyway, but yeah, so if you guys want to, my Patreon is in my channel's about box. If you want to donate, if you don't want to or you're unable to, not usually Jack Mass. He doesn't have a field gold head, he just has horns. Nitty. Still. Sometimes I don't know what to do though, so you're gonna have to just forgive me a little bit. Anyway, but yeah, I have more content coming up. I'm gonna see if I can try and make at least 2 mermaid ASMR videos. You should keep the last one into space! Then I just kicked it into a bell tower. It hit the bell tower with a thumb. You was looking at Venetia like, I hate rats. She's like, I hate rats too. And now she's on the number 2. It's very selfish. So, yeah, that pretty much sums it up. Yeah. So, thank you so much for watching. If you want, my Patreon is in the description, the about of my ASMR channel. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Sputtered against the bell. Yes, it did. But yeah, that about sums it up. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! What kind of brain was that? I don't know.